here from Woodelfman Gaming. Now, the channel's going to have all sorts of different things. We're going to be building stuff. We're going to be looking at the places you play games in and on. We're going to be looking at rules for games. We're going to be looking at all sorts of different things. But today, I've got a couple of friends over and we're busy building a Warhammer gaming table. Now, a Warhammer gaming table is a 6 foot by 4 foot monstrosity, and we're going to do something that looks a bit pro for the channel. You know, we want nice edging, and it's got to be the right size and stand and be at the right height. And I've got my good friend, the guy for the job, Sarel. He's sitting here. There he is. There's Sarel. How's it, Sarel?
How's it?
And he's busy putting this gaming table together. Now, this is one half of the table. So this is 3 foot by 4 foot. At the end, it's going to be 6 foot by 4 foot. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm just getting
It's going to fold up into a...
and it's going to fold, and it's going to have dice trays, and it's going to be amazing. Okay. And the whole point is, guys, who in this world, I mean, if you're living in the UK, and I was just in the UK, no one's got space. You live in a box, right? You need to make dual purpose furniture. Now, I'm in a slightly more spacious place here, but I promise you this is still a tiny house in South Africa, and this is our table. Now, this is a decent table. It's like 7 foot by 3.5 foot, right? So it's not quite the size of a Warhammer table. So the whole plan with the table Sarel is making is that we're going to have this fold-out monstrosity that's going to fold out with legs, and it'll raise the table, because if you've ever played Warhammer, it can be a 4 or 5 hour game and your back is so sore when you're half bending, right? You want a table that's up here, easy to stand for tall people. It needs to have some dice trays on it. You can throw dice and not sort of get in the way of your models. One of the things about Age of Sigmar specifically is that we've gone from old Warhammer, which was all square bases, to Age of Sigmar, which is all round bases. Now listen, I'm the biggest fan of round bases. The problem is, though, you don't have any, and round bases are actually quite expensive, especially the big ones. You pay like, I don't know, millions of monies for giant big round bases. These are the size like Illyrial goes on, or Archaon goes on, or Nagash goes on, right? And I'm busy building a tech list, my own homemade put together tech list, because 2,500 Rand for a tech list model, I'm sorry Games Workshop, you are a little nuts in your head. So I am going to be building a custom made, using high elf bits, tech list model, but I don't have a giant base and I'm not willing to spend a ton of money. So using some of the board that we're making the table out of, I am creating nice big round, I think they're called 25 centimeter, I don't know what they are. I've just traced the Illyrial base, and that's the size of the tech list base. So I'm going to do it, I'm going to try and bevel it a bit, but this will be a nice solid board for me to build up from there. And I'm going to make a few extras just in case I want to proxy in some other cool models I just make out of weird shit. Now listen, I'm no handyman, although I look like I am, with a power tool in my hand. But it doesn't take much to, use some electricity and a big thing that does the job for you, and bang, voila, look at this. 2 Illyrian, who's Illyrian? Illyrial and Teclis sized bases. All I need to do is sand them off a little bit, get them down to the perfect smoothness and size, maybe bevel that edge with a bit of a sharp knife. We'll give it a go, and then I can start building up the beauties of a gorgeous base full of rocks. By the way, what I'm going to be doing on these rocks, at least these bases, What I'm going to be doing on these bases is using bark. This is just bark from tree bark, and we've washed it, we've dried it in the sun, and it makes gorgeous looking mountains. Like this is 11 ore here, and 11 ore I've just built. I figured I may as well get one or two of the new high elf models because I don't want to proxy everything. So he's a gorgeous looking guy. He's like the god of the rocks kind of concept. And look at this. I mean, I could put like some amazing mountain pieces in. Looks like strata, like layers from my geography class, you know. So I'll be using that to build up and put a bit of that on the Techless base as well. Can't wait. So while Sarel's busy outside working on the big fold-out 6x4 gaming table, I'm busy working on my Techless proxy model. Now, this is the base size. I've cut it out of this, what's this word called, Sarel? MDF, 3 letters. How hard can it be? So, cut it out of that. Got a piece of Warcry terrain here. I'm using some air dry putty. Never used it before, you know. But where there's a will, there's a way. So I'm kind of using tools. I made a sort of tiled effect here by using a ruler. And the whole idea is going to be that the components are kind of an inside and outside, using a little tree, some rocks, maybe some of this sort of stuff, some grass, a bit of an overgrown outside. And then what's going to happen here is that, very similar to the actual Techless model, I'm going to have a winged creature, in this case the old high elf on Lord on Griffin. I've cut the Lord off. It's just a Griffin now. I'm going to have the Griffin kind of flying. Maybe I'll pin him up with a wire. Maybe I'll just have him sort of pegged to the thing. I'm going to have the Griffin flying over, and this Techless on his wing, very much like the current model. On the current model, this is a Sphinx, and Techless is, you know, this weird, horrible looking dude with his arms out like this. I mean, I think my Techless is cooler. And now, how did I make this Techless? I took the bottom half of an old high elf mage, and the top half is actually Techless, but he used to ride on a horse. So I took the horse away and the legs away, and I've used his torso, and I've kind of made a fused combination of all of that to make a really cool looking Techless. I think he's cooler than the new Techless. Okay, the bird's not quite as cool as the Sphinx, but all in all, you're going to have the same effect, and this is going to be a Techless model. I love it. So these here, that sort of inner piece there is going to be a fold-out leg. So the idea is that this stands on top of another table. Now, what I have to ask you, Sarel, is that leg going to be in the right place to stand on the table, or is it going to be off the table? And somehow in my brain I can't figure out how that leg on that edge is going to work. But anyway, Sarel says he has it. There have been times when he hasn't had it. I hope today's not one of those times.
Rubbish. When have I not had it?
Okay.
So, when?
When have you not? Okay, I'll think
when
about
was
it.
I wrong?
There was a time. Africa Burn. Did you not have it at Africa Burn? You sat there high. Okay, you're not high today.
Right.
Now, while Sarel was getting the Table of Death sorted out, I was doing some other stuff. Let me show you. We've made a little bit of progress on 2 of the models I'm busy building. Over here you can see I've done a little, what do you call it, priming. I've primed the Techless base, so now that's ready. It's kind of gray and ready to be painted, and I've also primed the big Cow God's base. I've also, you know, got a few cool rocks on there, and that's all going to get painted up. These tiles were interesting because I used this clay and it actually didn't stick very well to this, so it's sticking well to the rest of the building. I'm going to Mod Podge the shit out of this and just kind of like glue it down with that clear wood glue, you know. This is going to look great. Oh, and I've done a little painting and ink washing on this. The blue has not yet been ink washed. I'm going to do an ink wash on the blue, but I've done a yellow base and sort of an orange ink wash, and then a red base and a kind of maroon ink wash on those feathers. And I'm quite happy with how that's starting to look. I'm going to do the blue ink wash, and then I'm going to start some dry brushing to really pick out those feathers. And this is going to be Teclis's griffin flying over the house like that. Oh, that's going to be amazing. Okay, so after a day of crafting, and it's not over yet, but after a reasonably full day of crafting, we've done a few things. A few things have changed, so let's take a look. The table is just about done. We're putting some rubber on the base so it doesn't scratch the table. The table it's sitting on. The table's sitting on a table. Now this here is the table, it's the base table. You know, we just bought this table. We painted it. And it's already cool, as you can see. Heather has decoupaged it, full of super duper comic book stuff. Of course, when we're doing, you know, tabletop role play, this is where we would sit. But if I want to play a game of Age of Sigmar, I want a bigger table. I need a 7x4. This is too narrow. It's 3.5. I need a 4 foot, plus I want to be able to throw hundreds and millions of dice across the table and not have them roll off all over the lounge floor. So we have built the Table of Death. This is our Age of Sigmar table. Sarel and Dominic, Darren, Dylan, Duncan has finished it. And, or more or less, you can see that the legs are just being rubberized so that it doesn't scratch the table when we put it on, because this is just a little sort of 1 foot raise. And that 1 foot raise is going to mean that when we are standing at the table, we can stand more upright. So let's see it on the table. We're going to put it on the table to help you come and
Bring it forward to that. Okay. Before you lift it up, you pull the two things and make sure they click in position. Click in, and then open up.
Yo. Woo! Gaming, baby! Look at that! It's solid.
Rock solid.
Rock, you know, moving rock solid. Rocks that move solid. But it's rock solid. Okay, now for
little rocks.
Now for the test. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a Games Workshop mat. Now it's a weird like Mars mat, but it's a mat nevertheless, and it's designed for a 6x4 table. Let's see the baby in action. Oh, you beauty. You beauty. Woo! Tell me you don't want to play Warhammer when you see this. You're like, oh, put the models on the table. Okay, now I need everyone to grab a handful of dice because we're gonna throw them the way a geek throws dice, baby. Here's the dice.
I need to do this throw dice.
Oh.
Throw roll dice.
Come on, Duncan, Dylan, Darren, Dominic, grab a handful of dice. Get a handful for your dad, because we are going to capture this moment. We're going to baptize it with a roll of dice. Are you ready? My Martian elves against your Martian zombies. Yeah! Okay, maybe
Martian elves can't even hit the table.
Maybe I overthrew the dice. Okay, woohoo! Go! catches that last one. So the whole point is, get a bit closer here, the whole point is, you're rolling dice, and then you're like, you want to roll and know that you can kind of give it a toss, and it's not going to just bounce over the sides. Now, the other thing is, look at this table. We're playing. I can stand upright, but I can also keep a beer here. I can also keep my rule books here under the table instead of being here. So we are making a giant space a smaller space, if you know what I mean. So beer, coffee, rule books, and now the next step. Oh, extra models. All your extra models under the table, what he said. Now, this. We still have one thing to build, and Heather's going to paint it, by the way. We have one thing to build. We're making 2 dice rollers, and the idea is these dice rollers will look like that. They'll have sides, and they will hook over the edge like this. And we will then be able to roll our dice in the dice roller without rolling them onto our models, right? And then you can, if you don't like the dice roller here, you move it here, or you hook it over there, where you can, wherever you want. Is this not awesome? Oh, I'm so excited. I feel like a gaming pro.